you have like a big wide screen? Is it one of those big wide Okay. Do you have like a big...
Well, hello to everyone who has popped on and will join us in a little bit. So excited to be here with you. We've got Paula, Simone, of course, you know Kitten, Candy. Oh, that's me. Anyways, so just our little welcome speech, and that is that you can find everything that you need, which is HVU gear at our Etsy store. You could find ASEA information and the WordPress info, which is services, red pilling, you name it, all up on the WordPress. They're in the description. And we just wanted to update you. The kittens are doing marvelous. Mom is starting to wander away a little bit from her little nest, and they're sleeping a lot, eating a lot, and they're just beautiful, and she's so proud of them. She actually comes and gets us at the door and brings us over to our babies and says, pet them, love them like you do me. It's just beautiful. And then right after that, Kid broke out in this rash. I came in to see the kittens in the morning, and I looked at him and I said, oh my dear God, what is that? And we're looking at his body, and it's everywhere. So think of measles, but more and redder, angry, and they were itchy. And so what we've come to the conclusion is that 3 months ago we walked into Macy's and there was a smell, a musty smell, and I said, we can't stay here, it's moldy. So we left. Right after that, he developed a cough, but we didn't connect it yet. And then we walked into a hardware store just the other day. He smelled mold again and left the store, waited outside for us, and then the rash happened. And so we didn't connect it yet until he took Benadryl, which stopped the itching and started to stop the cough, but it didn't touch the rash. And so that's when the team helped us to understand what was going on with it. and that full moon. And then Paula's going to share with you about the 1010 portal or something like that, which has a lot to do with what happened and why. But what may start to make a really huge difference in that angry rash starting to dissipate was spraying it with this. He didn't use this.
The Renew 28.
He just put the spray bottle and sprayed his body with it, and it is starting to die down. And you want to show them?
Well, they can't really see it in that camera light.
Okay. It started to really die down. So that just takes a load off of mommy's mind, my mind, for my son, knowing that he's finally moving into healing. So we also wanted to introduce you to the great Paula Simone, the great and wonderful, and we just love you so much. I mean,
beware, she could never take a compliment. Like all of us, right?
Right.
So, Paula, you know what I mean by that is that your heart is in the right place. You're always in service. Yet you are growing into and maintaining healthy boundaries, and I can't tell you how difficult that is for all of us, is to learn those boundaries, and when people cross it, standing your ground. Because our health, your health, when I say our, look at yourself, that is the most important thing. Our boundaries are important with family, with friends, with clients, with everyone. We have to have healthy boundaries. And this is what I mean by great and beautiful and amazing, is that you're always sharing what comes to your heart, and you don't charge for it. There's so many people out there who's like, oh, you want to heal your body? You want to heal your pets? This is what I charge you for it.
This is what I can do for you, but then you have to pay for the results.
Yeah,
And you better hope they work. You better hope they work.
So, and I'm not discounting people who have to make a living, but there is an intention. There's a heart thing that I see there, is what I'm talking about. That heart of let's just leave it at that, because I don't want to get into
from being to doing a service to being in service. There's a big difference of those two. Because when you're just doing it for a service, you're doing it to service yourself and not others, but being in service, that's where we all need to be. And even if you charge for being in service, you are still in service to humanity.
Yeah.
And it shows in the energy, it shows in the intention. And there's a lot of people out there that are doing it for the service, but not in service. And that's where we all need to be, is the in service. And that's what Candy was trying to do.
And thank you for leading the way with that.
And thank you. I think the ego part of it too, like when you're doing that service part, if you're in it with ego, you're not going to be able to access your wheelhouse with grace and ease, because the ego is going to stand in the way to sabotage or camouflage, you know?
It's very true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the stuff that we've learned of the healing, you have taught us a lot of that. You've taught us how to go from changing our mindset into a way of getting out of that, you could say, servitude, to being that king and queen that we need to be, of being in the rulership of our own mind. And
exactly,
it's amazing.
Yeah, but what's beautiful is you guys allow me also to expand in assisting you too, because every day we grow. Every day our wheelhouse is changing. We're energetic fluid beings. So what might have worked yesterday might not work today because everything's shifting.
That is amazing that you just said that.
Yes.
Because last night we were having a conversation with one of our family members, Diane Casey, and she was like, you need to douse and see if this is working for you. And it's that one douse where you hold out your hand, you hold something in your hand and you push. Didn't work. It did not work. So Candy was like, all right, so we need to do it in a different way. And I'm like, you know what? Okay. So I just asked the question and the energy just gave me the answer. The dousing no longer works for us here in this household.
Well, so the kudos to you because that's a graduation. Remember, we were talking about we're in accelerated rates of graduation of the soul journey, man. It's every day for us, something is occurring to either make us shake our head and say, nobody's going to believe this today, but we're going to try,
So,
You know?
so Paula, last night, he says it's not working. I said, well, hang on. And you know how we teach you guys, all three of us teach you how to douse. Show me my yes, show me my no. Well, I was just like this. I'm like, what?
It's a yes. It's a yes. It's a yes. Is there any no's? Yes.
And I'm like, okay, this is not working. Have we expanded past that? And he's like, huh. So he then says, okay, energies. And then that's when he did his process and he got the answer. And I said, how'd you do that? And so
it just showed up in my mind. The answer just showed up in the energetic flow in my mind, which all of this rash stuff that's happening is just a viral detox. It's a detoxing with the virus, so it's just, that's what it is. And then the stars showed me something on online of the information, and it was just a virus rash, a viral rash.
But doesn't that go with when I would talk to you guys and I post about also we're in the trust and surrender part of everything?
It's true.
So if we really go into our soul's journey in this lifetime, how much have we been taught not to trust?
Oh, totally.
Exactly. How much have we been taught to not surrender? Because if you surrender, you become vulnerable. You become visual.
One of
Right?
my first mentors constantly told me, get out of your head. Stop thinking the answer. And I'm like, I don't even understand what that means. How do you not use your head, your brain, to understand what's happening or how to teach something? Because it's not about that. But there was no concept for me with that.
Sure. And it's not easy for us because we now have to become reliant on our heart chakra. Because I think coming up, the heart chakra is going to do all the talking.
It
is. It's going to be only about love, and love is going to serve and solve every dilemma. But do we trust our heart chakra? Why? Because our heart chakra has been in battle since we've come out of the womb. If you think about it, just being in the presence of our mother, wanting our mother's love, hoping that our dad pays attention to us, all of that debris being put into the heart chakra. And now we're in this now where we're told, hey, you need to trust and surrender this process now because you're being lined for greatness. So, it takes a while to just allow that to be, to get out of the critical thinking and the rationalizing everything out of its validity. The work that we do, okay, it's not an applied science. There's nothing written. People can write all kinds of stories and stuff like that, but it's not written. That's why scientists poo-poo everything we do. because it's not an applied science. It can't be proven. But people with their heart know that it's proof to them. That's why when I work with my clients and when I mentor and whatnot, I'm like, I don't care what you see here, blah, 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 blah. What do you feel? What are you feeling about this? Well, I'm not feeling. No, you're feeling. You're just not trusting what you're feeling. You're not surrendering because you want it so bad that it's not going to happen. Or you want to be just like Bonnie and Clyde and Harriet and whoever, right? But you're not. You're unique. So once you surrender and say, okay, I'm just going to be, now what? Right? But little by little, once they start trusting their self, like they'll say, I don't care what you hear, see, what are you feeling? Like, well, I don't feel nothing. Well, then let's find out why you're not feeling. What is it about your heart that's not allowing you or making you not feel worthy enough to feel it? Right? So that trust and surrender thing has been very important in my journey with my client base in the last month, because everybody's just so afraid to trust anymore.
It's because of the fear. Everything that's negative, the root cause to all things negative is the fear. So, like what Candy was going through today, she was wanting us to get to a certain point, but there was something that was blocking her, which was the thoughts. And I'm like, you are allowing yourself to be the slave of your thoughts. So you need to start taking control. Get out, get away from me. You're not mine. Send back to sender, which then gives you the power to stand in your power, to be able to take back the control, to be in control of your mind. And she's like, yes. And she starts doing it. But we all need that reminder every now and then that we need to start doing that we need to get out of our own head, like what you were taught from your other mentor. Get out of your own head, but take back control at the same time.
You know what? And if you realize it, your heart actually has a mind of its own as well. Okay? When I do surgeries, or if I'm looking at some sort of organ, for me, each organ has its own database. It has its own mind. It has its own electrical system. It has its own universe. You know, and when we're working on trying to heal that or bring it back to wellness, I'm trying to correct my words with healing. I want to create a perception of wellness, the highest octave wellness. So, went right out of my head. Oh, what was I saying?
The heart has its own mind, its own.
And every organ has its own universe.
It's yeah.
Thank you for paying attention and listening to me.
Don't worry, you're not the only one. We've been doing that too with each other, and
things come in and then they just go.
Now I remember where I was trying to go with that. Ooh, I got left off out of the speed train, that's for sure. So when you're going in to heal or put a wellness into a specific place or organ, you have to find the trigger, the very initial trigger of what created that whole dysfunction.
Like my rash.
And yeah, you have to go and look what triggered it, and start the wellness from that trigger. And then bring it to the physical, tangible. Sometimes it's an emotional outburst, mental outburst, or whatever it might be. But that's the activation.
I think I do know the trigger to this rash.
Okay.
And everything that has happened. So you remember how I said that you're being a slave to your mind. And how, I didn't bring up here, but I told you downstairs how you're a slave to your thoughts when I'm a slave to my emotions. That's the trigger right there.
Well,
The emotions.
that has been a constant hemorrhoid in your ass. I mean, seriously, it really bugs you that you haven't been able to move past that yet. But you are making headway.
Katie, do you remember we were talking, I think yesterday, and I said, listen, it's okay for us to be emotional. It's okay for us to be so pissed off at a certain situation and get it out of you and speak it. Just get it out. Then you can sit back and say, okay, how much damage did I do with that outburst? Okay. How much alienation did I cause with that outburst? Let me just check. Okay. But I think it's healing if we get that outburst out of us, don't you?
Oh, kind of like how I went and fought a bitch the other day.
Yeah.
And now she plastered no trespassing all over her house. And
Again.
now they're parking on our driveway right now, and I went and got some pictures, so we'll see what happens in the next few days. Wish me luck, family. I got another war to fight.
Dr. Evil.
Dun, dun,
with
dun.
the dead stare. Yeah. So I have this other perception. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were discussing about the Hurricane Ian, and we were talking about how where we live in certain spaces, it's so safe. Like where I live, we keep our doors open, honestly. Our cars are unlocked. The whole neighborhood is just this type of feeling, and it's community. And where they live, it's inner city, hardcore, everything that you could imagine is walking those streets, right? And I was thinking, this is the reality that we create, and it forms to the physical tangible, right? I went into this thought process. So if I'm only allowing peace and sanctuary and retrieving my joy and happiness again, and not fear walking down the street in the dark, that's the reality that I had created, and it's full on. So I was thinking about too, like the light tribes that live on the outer burbs of the inner city, that what are they thinking in that space that keeps them locked to that space? What is it about the inner city that keeps everyone locked to that inner city program? Could you take somebody out of that inner city, right, and bring them here to this land space? Would they create the bad timeline, or would they create the good timeline?
They would create what their programming is
used to.
But what would they attract is the question.
And
would all the people in that city that's already created that safe space, would that be broken by that one person? Or would that person be changed to start thinking of that safe space?
Well, the change, I believe, would occur if they're open to it. But as you and I have seen in our lives, it takes time to become aware of what needs to change before the change happens. Does that make sense? Do you see it that way too?
Of course, but I was feeling like I was like Freud or something. I'm like, why am I thinking like this today? Not Freud, because what he thinks about, but maybe that's what I was thinking about it. But I was realizing even too, like when we have storms, and ask anybody who lives in this area, when we have a thunderstorm, whatever, if you look at the map, and I posted sometimes pictures of maps on Facebook to show where we live, that storm goes right around, just like circles around us, goes around, and it doesn't come near us. So are we creating that beautiful utopia space, and the negative force of the storm doesn't want to disrupt it because it's not required there? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was doing some thinking. Does that happen with you guys? Do the storms fly around you? They go over you?
Usually, yes. But
Okay.
I've noticed when we are in a vulnerable, open, and weakened state all at the same time, then those powers that may be on the other people just leak into our experience, which then attaches to us. But I've noticed when we go out in power and we stand in that power during that time, it just flows around us and doesn't influence us or affect us at all.
Yeah.
So it really depends upon how we are feeling at that moment.
Yeah, that was just an observation I had the other day when I was talking to someone. Like, yeah, this is the reality that I have chosen, that I've created. And now it is in the book. Oh, dude, that's a manifestation. But dumbass. So simple, isn't it? Just so simple. Manifestation, of course. Dumbass. Anyway. Yeah, that was just a deep thought that I had this week.
Well, I've also realized, you remember how a few months ago, or it was actually last month, I believe, when the Lions Gate opened, it didn't just crack open, it flew open. And it's still open to this day. And the firmament's also starting to break down, and a lot of new energies are starting to come in because they're destroying a lot of those crystals that are on the, the Saturn ring. Those crystals are starting to dissipate and break.
Yeah, so the rings are starting to disappear.
Which means that we're just going to be bombarded with a whole lot more energies, like the 1010 gate that you can also talk about.
But remember those crystals in Saturn's ring, it was all used with a DS to mind control us.
Well,
So
go ahead. Sorry.
there was something that I did not have an awareness to that I just read. And someone said that there were ELF frequencies, ELF. I don't know if they actually meant like the little people elf type things, or if ELF is a synonym for something. But ELF frequencies.
I think it's electrolight frequency.
Okay, so these frequencies were being sent out over very tall towers throughout the world. And this is where the Saturn rings come in. I'm sure that was being used as well to shoot into our minds every sort of angry, evil, ugly type of speech that there is. So that is something that we have constantly battled and had to overcome. And that is finally starting to break down. And
It's starting.
and remember, you and I talked about the evil spirits. We can call them demons if you want. They have been sent out, and they're attacking the leaders first. They're
Yeah.
attacking the high vibers first.
Yeah.
And
So when I went to the rings of Saturn, yeah, okay. It goes back to when they opened the space and time continuum with CERN, okay? Back in July. Remember they cracked something open and it permitted the minions, the evil minions, so to speak, that were wreaking havoc across Earth, that space and time, that rift vacuumed them up, so to speak. But the big cheeses were coming down. So the galactic demonics started coming through. So they started coming through from Saturnia. Then we were getting a type of galactic demonic presence from Jupiter. And now we're getting galactic demonic presences from Mercury. So they're hop, skipping, and jumping because they're not getting successful. They're there, and now they're trying this one. They already know they're not going to be successful because it's going to go all the way down past Pluto and fall out into Neverland, and it'll just fall away. But yeah, Candy, it's true. Like what we saw was, sorry, they want to take us out before, like this. They're here on a vengeance. They're PO'd. They want to wreak havoc. They want to keep everyone back to their program to bring back to a lower timeline. The ones that I'm noticing now from Mercury, these are all about distraction, that they want to put us in a state of distraction, change our focus. And in that moment of changed focus, that's when they infiltrate. Okay. If you ever like like how I was talking to you guys, right? And all of a sudden, what was I saying? The purposes are to get us off top dead center, back to complete neutral. So each one is having an attempt. And even though, when I had that conversation about a month ago, because I was given the gift of helping the only key holder of the element of water. And this person was so infiltrated that this protocol took 48 hours and then 48 hours to get all these galactic demonic parasites out of this person, because they were talking to her in her head and trying to literally destroy her. Because if they got a hold of all the data in that key for the element of water, think what that would do to Earth. We're all comprised of water. There's so much water on Earth. If they got a hold of that data, to them, they would destroy Earth. That's something to,
yeah, that's a big hum.
And before I did that, I went out on my porch and I did sit with Creator, and I had like a pyramid. I had my hands here and I had this pyramid forming, which I literally was having a conversation. And I'm like, when I was done with this stuff, I really thought I was done with these battles. I've created just beautiful timelines of peace finally. So then through the great portal, child, I wouldn't have given you something you can't handle. Okay. So I had to trust and surrender to that too, because you guys know how much I've been battled, how much I've been infiltrated, how much I've been thrown, like all of it. You guys walked the walk with me with this stuff. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to go back there. I didn't want to go back into that space again, because I wanted to be, this was about my soul freedom. But again, we're in service. And I got checked. I got checked for. Okay. And I told the person, I said, just don't talk for a week. because I got to go MIA energetically, so I'm not found and I'm not harmed in this process. So that was taken care of. And now I'm looking at, okay, here we go. These other nefarious little brats that are coming from Mercury, you know, can you cut us a break for a minute? Just a minute.
No, because our guides and source and the gods always give their strongest warriors the biggest battles.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here.
Yeah.
We're the frontliners, honey.
Yeah. But really, and what's interesting is right after that thing, I got real quiet. And I'm like, okay, here we go again. I'm on the plateau. I'm getting, what am I going to get downloads? Am I on a break? Am I on vacation? Did they take everything away from me for a minute? Because I went through another type of battle. Like even my calendar got quiet, everything got quiet. I'm like, all right, you want me to trust and surrender this? That's what I'm going to do. See what's next. Bring it on. Graciously for me.
Kid and I are seeing that in our sphere too, is that when we're going through something, things get quiet. And if you think about it, the Bible talks about every prophet going out to the desert for 40 days to do their inner work and to get their messages, right? Well, that is a time of solitude and quiet. And, it doesn't mean that we're going to go through 40 days of dry desert, no water stuff, but
sometimes it could be 40 years.
it depends on the person, right? And it depends on the enormity of the mission that they've got too.
It's true, like our whole year sabbatical that we went through.
The bigger the mission, the more preparation that needs to be done. However, there's a flip side. The more the resistance, the longer you're there. So determine for yourself. I mean, make sure you're not in that resistance.
But don't get too comfortable. like I did during the year sabbatical, because then
It's hard for me. If I'm on a sabbatical for a weekish, it's hard for me to come back and focus again. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard for me to like, whoa, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. Well, I really went human there for a minute. I really went human. Okay. All right, let me get back on the saddle again and see how I'm going to do. But what you realize is, hey, I actually graduated.
I love
Hey, this is actually easier coming back on, doesn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah. And I love the reality of this conversation, the rawness of it, because that's how people are going to understand what's happening in their sphere, is by us talking about being real and raw and how uncomfortable it can be. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I love that, Paula.
Well, thanks.
Any more suffering you want to share?
Yeah, please.
I do. My toes itch. Thanks to the rash, it hurts.
I'm sorry. Okay. So y'all remember I left a very instructive timeline of a marriage. So, and y'all know I came back here and I've been peaceful and repairing and upgrading and graduating and just finding me again and being so grateful for every single thing I was gifted, right? So in the last, about the last 3 weeks, right, with my knee, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so people, I thought I was out cutting the grass feeling like Lumberjawn, and I thought I twisted my knee, right? So I took care of it, and I've been going to the chiropractor to keep me in alignment, and it's so my team during the middle of the night, like, you need to do a parasite cleanse. You just got to do a parasite cleanse all through my vision quests all night long. You need to do a parasite cleanse. They're eating the soft tissue. Remember, Candy, when I asked if, how I could get a hold of the paste?
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Yes, thank you for the code word.
Yes.
Horse paste,
And-
yeah.
Yeah. So there was a part of me that was sabotaging me, that it was almost scheming me. So I had to look at that. What part of me was sabotaging me getting better? So I was again sleeping on a vision quest, and they showed me that when I was in Maryland, okay, and I was constantly compromised energetically, I had a fallout come into me from, my partner. And I realized something, that when I finally walked away, all my joints started to feel uncomfortable. So I started doing the infrared sauna, okay? So then I realized the infrared sauna, that dead heat, parasites hate. They hate it. So you can start feeling them. I could feel them because I'm so sensitive, the wiggling of them, right? So I was like, whoa, this is kind of freaking me out a little bit, right? And so when I started taking the paste, I realized that the wiggling that was happening in my knee, that it was trying to get out because that paste was killing it, right? And what was interesting is when I put both my knees together, there was magnetic communication from one knee to the next knee. So whatever was in there was communicating on two different parts of my body together when I put the knees together. Okay, so that started freaking me out a little bit, honestly. So now I'm diligently being proactive on this paste. The movement has now stopped. And when I went in and looked at it in a surgical way, I realized that it had created a nest over my whole knee because it couldn't get any farther up because my vibration here was so powerful that it couldn't climb higher. It could only get as high as my knees. Right? So what was interesting too, and I don't know if I told you, I think I told you, Candy, already, that yesterday morning when I blew my nose, I had a pellet come out of my nose. And I'm thinking, okay, was this something ancient, or was it something that was sent to me from the rickety road in Maryland?
Being around those that got the jabby dabby, the poison apple, right?
Yep. Yep. Because what's interesting is I remember, like, when I would sleep, knees would knock when we're sleeping. And I got the whole scene from my team as to how this occurred.
Babe, would you turn on this light? The flip on that light, thanks. That's incredible.
And it freaked me out more when I blew my nose and this little tiny pellet came out. It was no bigger than a head of a pin. And in my head, it's like, that's nanotech. Excuse me? So that pace is pushing for me everything out. Okay? Now, what's also interesting is being on this pace and it's putting clarity all through me, it's actually changing, it's getting rid of whatever nanotech that I did not see or could not find multidimensionally within me. This stuff was miraculously killing all that off too, that when I went out this morning, well, something happened overnight because we were in the 1010 portal, okay? So that's the one of all that is. So we were coming in to another part of our authentic original blueprint, okay? So I realized that I could see the color warps, like the Star Trek warp of color going by me again. And I hadn't seen that in a long time. I'm like, oh, it's so pretty. It's back. I was so excited. So being in that prison for 3 years down where I was, it took all of that away from me that I didn't realize was all gone, right? And so when I went out this morning, driving across the sky right in front of me over this beautiful field of grapes, there was like a black tunnel in the sky. It was black, and I was like, okay. And every time I opened my eyes, it was right there. It was a black tunnel, but like a black chemtrail or something, right? Now we already know that this moon was already sending off some major signals and stuff that were hurting us. So I thought to myself, are they doing this in the dark of night? Are they sending these things on us in the dark of night? So it can't be seen, right? Now, so I started driving a little bit farther down the road, and I started looking up. And up in the sky, it's like the sky opened, and I could see a magenta colored matrix. I'm going to call it a matrix, but it actually looked more like a flower of life. And it was magenta. I'm like, oh, so pretty. And I'm driving like, oh, so pretty, you know? So then I crossed the bridge. I looked up again. Another place opened, and it was another matrix of shiny gold.
Wow.
Yeah. So
We're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy.
absolutely not. This visual spectrum that I had just this morning was showing me, kudos to you, girlfriend. You were proactive. You heard us tell you, do a parasite cleanse. This is what happened. And you listened, you surrendered, you trusted. You know? And I was shown also, as I went farther down the road, I did see the blackish gray matrix. I did see that. And then above that, I saw the rusty one. So if this black matrix opens up and people think, oh, it's breaking, we're going to be free of the matrix. Guess what? There was another one positioned right above that. So it would catch whatever else was coming up and we'd still be trapped up here. That one was more iron-like and rusty, and like you could tell it was there so long, so ancient.
You know what that reminds me of? Do you remember in the book of Daniel when Daniel had this vision and he saw a huge statue? The feet were made of one material, I can't remember if it was metal or clay, and then the ankles were a different type of structure, and it went up in different structures, and it represented, if I'm remembering correctly, different cities
Different levels.
Okay.
different
that
things.
were The clay, of course, is a weaker city than something of iron. So you're talking about these levels, which reminds me of that statue. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the two-level matrix, and the one above it was planted more, was older. Okay. So it would catch, it would be like, we would think, oh, good, we freed ourselves from the matrix. But what many didn't see was the one right above that. So we wouldn't have been, they planted that. So technically we would never be free.
Wow.
But because we're noticing it there now, and if they showed me the magenta, which is the Magdalene, which is the compassionate love of all that is, and they showed me the 24 karat, which is the God spark, creation of the I am consciousness, they're the two badasses that are breaking this shit up.
Wow.
They're like, fear not. Guess what? We're on it. We're on it. So that was my experience this morning.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because not all of us get those visions to know what's going on. So we appreciate that you are sharing with the rest of the family so we can all be on the same page. I appreciate that so much.
Well, I try to, you guys know, I try to share what comes. When, like, I'm pretty quiet, then all of a sudden I'll get a lot of data and then it stops again. You know? So that was interesting. So we're at the 1011 today. So if we look at the 1011 today, 101122, right? What is it showing us today that we better end? We better end it. Whatever we're being shown today, we need to rid ourselves of that particular prison ASAP for our highest good.
So, Paula, let's take a break here for a sec. And there may be people on here who have not scheduled a session with you to know how awesome your sessions are. And I know they've changed a little bit. So would you talk a little bit about what you do in a session? When someone comes to you, you want them to bring you want them to focus on the one thing, the main thing that is causing the most distress in their life, right? Is that still it? Okay. So
yeah, that's it pretty much. And I want them to come, first of all, coming to me because of me, and we're trying to all live in the now. Okay. It's almost like my evolution is becoming almost oracle-like. So the data comes in right then. So when they come to me, they're like, I need you to look at A, B, C, and D. But then the conversation goes completely off of that because of what is directed further now in order to heal A, B, C, and D, or wellness to A, B, C, and D. They just wanted that quick fix there. But the fix needs to occur here first in order for wellness to happen there.
So basically, you are given the vision of the root, whereas they may come with the knowledge of the symptom, unaware. Yeah.
Right. Because when I go to the root, like I look at each individual as a map. There's so many different maps in your layers from which we could bring back to wellness.
So what can they expect as far as the session goes? When I
talk to them in the beginning, I really want to learn about them. I like to go to their blueprint. I like to just know about them and know the beauty of who they are. And then with that, it tends to show me more and more what's required for them. So we have the conversation. And then I said, okay, so what is it today that we really need to look at? And let's work on that.
Yes. So
because as you know, the work that we do, we have to go out to Jackass Flat to retrieve the data in order to help them. So if they come to it, they've got 4,000 different questions. They're like, 1 second. I can't go to 4,000 different planes of existence right yet to get what you require now. What I want you to do is I want you to feel the love that you deserve, how worthy you are of it, how you deserve freedom from it,
So
and then it's down from there.
Paula has, my husband had like these huge glands. They were, there for over a year. And the doctors could not figure out how to target what was going on in his body to get them to go to normal. And there was infection. And so she got the infection out, and everything started to shrink after that. She's regrown organs. She has rebuilt things. She takes different parts of your body up to her ship and reformats it to the blueprint, and then brings it back down and installs it. So when she does work, I want you to know that you walk away feeling or knowing that things are going to be different at some point. And it's all about your release too. If there's any resistance, that's going to stop the work. So you've got to.
And I'll say, hey, let's either come back to this another time, or it's not time for you, or are you testing me, or are you just, am I a sideshow for you? This is where the boundaries come in, the respectful boundaries and whatnot, and not being somebody's psychic employee. That's what is getting to me. We are not employees of anything. We are energetic fluid beings.
Okay,
So
so that people understand, in the beginning I talked about setting healthy boundaries, and both of us have been approached by people that are using manipulation to get a hold of us and to serve themselves. So the conversation isn't about, hey, I just want to get to know you, or how can I help you, or I just want to be friends. No, I mean, they dive in and it's like, well, what about this? Why can't you heal me this? 3 o'clock in the morning? What's the problem? That they literally say that to us. 3 o'clock in the morning? What's the problem? Why aren't you there for me? And then
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we're talking about. And so healthy boundaries is really, really important. And it can be uncomfortable to stand your ground while you are exercising and learning how to stand in those healthy boundaries.
Yes, but they're technically giving us the gift of us standing in our sovereign power. So we thank them for that. But the back, Jack, just a minute. Okay, we need to make you understand or be in an awareness that we are not on 24/7 in human form. We have to rest, we have to repose, we have to have time of download and upgrades and all the other things. So please, it's about, remember Candy, you and I talk about the respect of it. Mm-hmm. If we're being respectful to you, why do we not deserve the same respect? Mm-hmm. Right?
So, can we just talk about listening for a minute?
Yes.
Oh, you wanted to
No,
say
don't worry
something?
about it, because I have to go backwards in conversation since you guys didn't allow me to kind of like interject. Or anything, so I have to
we're
go back to
sorry.
parasites. But I'll wait until you guys are done with your conversation. That's why I'm writing down
No, go ahead.
note
We're good.
so I
This-
can remember.
This is important, and I'll tell you why. Because my awareness stopped right here, so that needs to wait or not even be talked about, and this needs to come front.
Okay.
So please.
So the first thing I want to go all the way back to is the nanobots that came out of your nose. Now, what was brought to my attention is that nanobots and parasites are basically the same thing, just in one's a living organism while the other one is a
Mechanical?
right? But they both have the same, what do you call that?
Program.
I wouldn't say
Intent-
program, but more
Intention.
of safety mechanisms.
Okay.
Because a parasite, when it's being attacked, it draws in metals and it covers itself in metals so it hides itself. Same thing with these nanobots. And what was coming out of you was that you took the physical approach to get rid of these nanobots, which was the horse paste, which then was able to finally come out. So we have to go at it from all three different angles of the physical, the mental, and the spiritual, and then the emotional, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to bring to that attention, is that it's going to cover itself in anything it can to hide itself. So that's
Absolutely.
what...
Can I
Okay.
interject a second? Just 1 second, and I'll listen to. So what I learned in this process too, that will organically be shown to do parasitic cleanses during full moon corridor phases. Why? Because the parasites hate the moon energy. It makes them like little werewolves, and they get hyperactive. So if we're doing the horse pace, we want to do it close to a full moon. So you want to start it 3 days before, and then you want to go over that corridor hump of the full moon where they're most active. And the paste is going to be more effective to get the larva, to get the incubation and eggs. And then we got to use the binder to die off and get it out of us.
And,
So
and the binder is?
the binder is the activated charcoal and bentonite clay, which is nasty. It is. I'm not gonna lie.
I know.
Nothing about it.
Do you take it in capsule form or
Yes,
powder?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I am not taking. I can still taste it when it's the capsule. Ugh.
Yes.
If you drink it with Welch's Concord grape juice, it hides a lot of that.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. Man.
Mark tastes like ass. Well, those
Tastes
that
like
like
dirty-
to eat ass will love it then, right?
Or it tastes like dirty socks. It's got that rankness of dirty socks or something. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, that's foul. It's foul. But I learned that this full moon that we had, I mean, they were so active. I'm like, yeah, you mofos, now you're done, because now I'm going to up my paste. How about that? You know,
That's
who's going to be
true.
smarter now? So I'm sorry to interject, but I needed to let the people know that if they're going to do it, look to when the full moon's coming and
So-
take it serious then.
so that leads me into a question right there. Should we kind of like trick the parasites into thinking that they can come out before the full moon by taking a week off of the horse pace before we started the 3 days before the full moon? So it's like it gives the body a chance to empty out of that horse pace, so the parasites go, oh, when the full moon energy starts.
Well, sure. I mean, why not? I was just being so like, okay, you mofos, more pace, more pace, more pace. Now what? Now what you gonna do? Right? So I just noticed that the moon was making them so active, you know? And you know what I was thinking about too? I wonder what because when they were talking about Morgellons, right? That sometimes like people think that people are crazy when they talk about this stuff. I don't agree with that. They're not crazy because the way these parasites feel just like that. The sensations that they're getting.
There was a woman that
So,
contacted us, and she was pulling blue and red plastic-like strings from her head, and it was constant itching. That is the Morgellons. One form of it. There's many forms of it.
how does it get in there? Is that ancient technology like us? Something that I should be up on my ship studying, actually. But think about it. How does it come out? Like, where did it come from? Did the AI parasite create that? Was it man-made and installed in our vaccinations when we were tiny?
It could be the parasites that are. It could be just excretion of what the parasites are eating, and that's what it could turn
Okay.
into.
Yeah.
So we got to think of it in that form as
I
well.
don't think it's been studied enough.
Yeah, I don't think so
For
either.
these poor people who are going whack-a-doodle because it's making them literally crazy. You know, I
If you
feel
think
bad
about it,
about that.
they can turn organic matter into plastic. And that's what these nanobots and parasites could be
Okay.
doing
All right.
as well,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
what it turned it into.
Brilliant. Yeah,
So-
brilliant. That's brilliant. You're right. That's brilliant.
So now to go back to the other thing that I wanted to talk about, which was for your sessions. So kind of fast forward a little bit into why people should all the family members and everybody that comes and signs up for your session to focus upon the biggest thing that is happening within your experience. The reason why we need you to focus upon the biggest thing is because when you focus upon the biggest thing, all the smallest things follow and everything else falls into place. So you don't
Yeah.
have to worry about the small things, because if you focus upon like dominoes,
Yeah.
you focus upon the very first domino, which is the root cause to the problem, the biggest problem, which then everything else just falls into place. That's why Paula and all of us need to focus upon that instead of the other small things, because everything else follows the biggest one.
That makes sense. 100%.
Sorry, guys.
Anything else to talk about, Ken? I mean, are we going ahead or?
Those were the two things I wanted to bring up.
Okay, I just have one more thing that I want to talk about to everybody, because when I was in Dreamscape about a week ago, in the morning, I had this profound voice come through me and said, Earth is now repositioning. So, okay, well, you're leaving me with all that big words, and now I got to be Sherlock Holmes and figure out what this means, right? Yeah, okay. So when I looked at the word repositioning, what I was drawn to was at the point of prehistoric takeover, when we were taken to the dark side, when we went to the shadow side, okay? That's when everything got all misconstrued. Everything got taken into a place of separation from all kinds of love, right? That's when everything was installed to cause separation. So when I looked at the word repositioning, and then I noticed that during the evening, one evening, there was nothing but rumbling going on over here on the East Coast. I always post about, everybody pay attention, what's rumbling on East Coast, right? So So what I was looking at was the tectonic plates are repositioning. And then what they showed me, are you okay? Love you, hope you feel better. What I noticed was that the Earth is going to go back to its original blueprint.
Makes sense.
I mean, we are too.
So all the tectonic plating is going to go back to the original state of peace, because the shadow is what caused the disruption and the movement. So what they also showed me was that the maps that we know are going to all reposition.
We know that.
Yeah, so all the countries, their countries themselves, through their own tectonic plate movement and water movement, whatever it might be, they show me the mapping is going to be different. So now we're in the process of repositioning. So let's look at this. We're also Earth. We're also made of Earth, right? So aren't the tectonic plates within us repositioning too? I think every time a tectonic plate within us moves back to our original blueprint, pristine state, doesn't that mean that we're going to go back to the original blueprint? We're going to go back to perfect state, top dead center, zero balance. So in order for us to get to that moment, we have to go through the shadow layers of whatever debris was placed within our tectonic plates. You guys okay?
Yeah.
Am I boring you?
Nope.
Not at all.
I just see our
Okay.
neighbor outside, and I'm wondering if it's the bitch that I need to go fight. But it's not.
Wow.
So I'm like,
Take the camera with you. Yeah. Okay, take the camera with you if you do. So I think it'll be a Jerry Springer moment. I think that what's happening is for all of us is like, kid, you had that rash, right? So some tectonic plate within you shifted to release that from you. You know, it was embedded somewhere in the multidimensional being of you. That some vibration that you arrived at allowed that tectonic plate through the pressure to move it and allow you to release it.
makes sense. Because viruses are what? Viruses are old stories, old programs that need to be released from the body. And when you are going back to 0 point, you need to just let it all go. And that's what this is, a form of physically letting it go. And it also brought me to the point to where the key point of the root cause of the problem emotionally. I'm still a slave to my emotions.
Yeah. And Candy, you know this today when we talked earlier, like I almost felt like I couldn't do this live because you know why? What I received. I received these voicemails that were an attempt to drop me back into a timeline of weakness within myself. And it sat with me. I'm not gonna lie, because I got a second voicemail. And I was like, sooner or later, I'm gonna have to face the dragon, that's for sure. But it made me feel some kind of way. I'm like, wait a minute. When I listened to it, I felt sick to my stomach. So there was me already saying, my soul was saying, girlfriend, you're not going there again. You're not gonna be there again. You're way up here. Don't allow this to mess your flow. But still, there was something in that made me, for a moment in space and time, feel vulnerable. I was like, oh, y'all are setting me up? Is that what you're doing? You're trying to set me up. So, are the nefarious ones thinking they're smarter than me? I think not. So I had to sit there and do some diamond fire opalescent work on myself to bring myself back up out of that timeline that was trying to push me down into.
We all do have
But
to
it
be.
was the universe. But it was the universe showing me, this is going to end. Remember, this is something that you need to end. So we're going to show you how you feel about that. How's that making you feel? Oh, you're feeling sick to your stomach? Mm-hmm. Because you're not there anymore. You graduated. You now have your top hat on, and you're going and walking down on Broadway. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. And I said, buck up, Buttercup. You got a live to do. People want to talk and they want to feel and they want to be able to express themselves. Who am I to not allow that to happen? Right? So thank you for Candy saying to me, oh no, we're going on. We're going on. Okay. All right.
We all have to be ready right now because right now is the most important time to release and let go of all things that are not here for our highest good at this moment because it's almost coming to an end. We're already walking through the unknown. The unknown is here. It's like what we've been learning from Jason Q is past proves future. Yes. But that's coming to an end. We're soon in that era. We're going to start walking into the unknown of not knowing what's going to happen because it has never been done before. It's like we're now going into the Star Trek mode of going into the deep space of where no man has ever been before. And that's where we're going.
100%. And none of that stuff is written anywhere. Nobody can say it's written. No, it's not.
It's not.
It's not. So this is where we trust faith, have faith and surrender that what's occurring is not to destroy us. It's to rise us up. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay. That was all my topics.
So I would also like to go over if certain things that you guys are doing, like dowsing and crystals and cards, and if they're not working for you, it means that you've upgraded. It's time to do something different. You know, when I read cards, I used to go through the book and go and do it by the book. But now I look at certain words, maybe even break up the words or go into the description of the words and use that.
And then pictures.
And then use numbers and pictures. And it's... So we went to what was that one place? It's a market, right?
Yeah.
And this guy goes all around the world doing sketches. And through these sketches, he then creates cards. And these cards, each card has a different picture. And what's funny is that I'm starting to not use the numbers. I'm starting to use the sketches, the pictures of what they mean during my card readings. So it's not that you are losing the ability to do something. You never do. You're upgrading to the point to where it is no longer needed in that way. Just figure it out and use it in a different way that works for you. Because the higher you... It's kind of like schooling. Let's do math. You know, you first learn 1 + 1 = 2. And then 1 × 1 = 1. And then you go into divisions and then and other mathematical terms that I do not even know. So it's just like that. What was that, Paula?
It does, yeah, it doesn't matter to go through all that extra stuff.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
never bring fear into what is happening within your experience, but just stand strong and ask the right questions. Because you have to remember, the answer lies within the right questions asked.
The one key word that was sent to me was, and you know I say it a lot, is highest octave. Okay? So when you're asking a question, ask for the highest octave response. Okay? That will be, so whatever response is coming through, it will come from the highest point for your now. So if we're doing crystal work, I'm going to bring in the highest octave to purify this crystal. If we're doing work with rays and colors and whatnot, I'm going to command forth the highest octave hue of violet or whatever it is. Okay? Just because I'm going to sneeze. One second. Oh,
Bless you.
sorry.
We're both clearing. Wow.
There goes another bee that got across the room. So, the highest octave for what I'm using is bringing in for me, what I'm seeing is the new earth energy.
Wow.
It's pure. It's more pure. So that's what is the key word that I've been using lately in the work that I help people with. Is anybody asking questions at all? Are we having any?
Well, no, but maybe they don't know to. So, does anyone have any questions?
Any
And
questions?
I did want to bring up, circle back to listening.
Yes.
I've been in several conversations where I made a request within the conversation with someone, and they said okay, and then did the complete opposite. And there, when we are getting together with someone, we have to be sitting in awareness as to, first, why we're there. Second, being aware of that there are two people involved here. And it's just, how do I say this? It's frustrating to get into a conversation where you're not heard. Or
When
respected.
when I work with clients, I apologize right from the get-go. Because if we live in the now, and the data comes in that now for the people, like, just please forgive us. This is what's coming through. And then we'll get back to, because if we don't catch that data coming in right at that moment, we're not going to be able to retrieve it again. Right? So I understand what it's for me is I feel bad by interrupting so much, but it's what's required for them to assist them along in their thought perception.
Well, then that brings me to the question, why are they there to see you? For you to keep your mouth shut?
Exactly. Oh, okay. Right.
I mean, if
Touche.
their purpose is to come get healing, and all they want to do is talk and say, well, look how good I'm at this and I'm at this. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. And you are not receiving what you should be receiving in that moment, and that could be a very precious moment that won't come again.
That's right. It doesn't.
So-
It doesn't. You know, we can't retrieve old data.
Yeah. So, no, that I'm not talking about it from our aspect. We're there when we're in session. That's the purpose of that session. If
Well
you
put.
want to just
put.
chat, that is the first thing that you need to say is, I'm not here for work.
I'm here to talk your ear off for an hour.
If someone messages you and says, hey, I need help with such and such, and then they want to talk about everything else but, that to me
Exactly.
is unacceptable. Especially when I make time out of my day, or it's at a very odd hour in the late at night, and I'm
Yep.
exhausted.
But there's also times where I also had to end a session with somebody, well, a couple of times actually, because when I was doing my absolute best to help them out and I was tuning in and I was bringing information, they would say, yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that. And if you know that, why do you need me?
Exactly.
Why am I wasting my time, my
Yep.
precious time, when I could be healing somebody else that needs my energy, when all you're going to tell me is that, yeah, I know, yeah, I know. So you also have to keep that in perspective, that if you're going to
Yep.
come in like that, that's not something that we need either.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
So just to restructure, when a kid is spending some time with someone, it's never wasted time until that happens.
There
and
you go.
and then it becomes a waste because you're not there getting what you want, what you requested.
This is what I think too. We only have so much data coming in at that moment that maybe what we could teach them is done. Do you ever think about that? Maybe they then have to seek within themselves or beyond, because we can only help. My hair really, Paula? We can only help how we can help. I look like a rooster. Look, look at the rooster. Look. I'm trying, people. I'm trying.
It's beautiful.
Anyway.
I love it.
Anyway, so that's where I had to bid a fond, loving adieu and say I can no longer assist because you're not listening, or you're not trusting yourself to use the tools that I'm gifting or what have you. So please go seek another that will give you satisfaction. I'm not your employee. We're not bound to you. We're only brought into your path to mentor you for that now time.
Well,
Right?
what I said to that person was, I want to thank you for your time, but I don't think that what I have to offer you will benefit you at all. So I want to thank you, but I'm going to have to end this session right here. But
Okay.
because of the energy that she sent my way, it was a belittling, berating, you are not good enough energy. So I had to excuse myself. And guess what? I cried that day.
Of course.
I cried because I was made to feel that I was
Not good enough.
not good enough, yeah. And that's
Yeah.
one of my weak
No.
points, is feeling I'm not good enough. You are worthless. And that's how I've felt my whole life. Especially when I came out of the closet. And I had to fight for my space. I had to learn to stand in my own power.
Mm-hmm.
And being belittled like that from somebody that we should be considered family. just hurt because I let my guard down. And when I let my guard down, it allows the stars to do what they need to do without any holds bar. But that was a vulnerable time for me. So you also have to take into consideration that that is also what Paula does and what Candy does. And what a lot of healers out there do is that they let their guard down so you can get the full benefit of everything that we can offer. So don't take advantage of that. It hurts. It really does.
Well said. Well said. Well said. Well said for all of us. They forget that we feel. We are of heart. We come to there with the most open heart we can possibly gift. And then they forget that that heart feels.
They also forget that we can see motive because of
Hell
the
yeah.
position that we're standing in.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the motive isn't pure, we see it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've had some beautiful, beautiful family come through that was just eager to heal and eager to learn, and they were so respectful, and we appreciate that. We appreciate that they come like that with such a beautiful heart.
Yeah, I leave many a session so fulfilled. I think that's the word I want to use. Because they were able to find a part of themselves that was hidden so deep, and they actually saw their worth. That to me is so fulfilling, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, so I have pinned Paula's schedule link, and I've posted it several times so that you are aware of it. And all you have to do is press the link, and her whole calendar will come up, and you can choose whatever day and time that she has available that suits your best need. And if there's like a time difference from another country, then email you, right? Or actually,
Yeah, or message
Yeah.
me on Messenger or whatever. Yeah.
yeah.
And we'll make it work.
And she'll figure out something special for you.
Would anybody have any questions before we end this? Anybody have any questions that are important?
Someone did. What messages can you give us for this fall season?
Well, that's pretty vague. That it's chilly. That all I'm going to say is I feel like we're coming up to, I don't want to say a grand event, but I feel like an event is coming for the good of all humanity, and I think it's in November. And we don't want to go into the fear-mongering of any part of it, because all of us are so important in this journey of soul salvation that nobody's going to be left. They're just going to be in different timelines to learn the lessons so they grow.
Where we go one, we go all.
Huh?
Where we go one, we go all.
Truth. So what are you guys feeling for fall?
Well, we've already entered into the quantum energies, and we're watching as the veil is thinning so much.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of feel that the veil is linked to the dome also.
The firmament.
And the things that you were talking about, those things that are dissipating. So now is the time, like Paula was saying, to just really move into trusting yourself and looking for those things, like what the three of us shared, what we encounter with some interactions with individuals. Look for those things that come up with you and those that you are in relationship with, and don't let them just skip on by, but call them out, call them to the carpet. Make sure that you are addressing everything that would hinder you from growing. That is this time and space that we are at. So just like the fall leaves are turning color, this color is a vast array of showing what is ready to die and what is ready to go to sleep and what is ready to birth as we move into winter and spring.
Let's also think about the word veil. We know kind of what the veil is, but for those who don't really know what the veil is, how would we explain that to them otherwise than being a type of, how can I explain that?
What a veil looks like? What a veil feels like?
Yeah, like it was a barrier, right? When we say it's like a barrier that holds in certain energies, holds in certain spirit energy, ghost energy, etc.
Think
So
of a veil as like a labyrinth, an ever moving labyrinth, and you're just going around in circles. So the more that you make a left or a right, the more you're still staying in that same space. But when a veil is being lifted off of that, you could see the fog coming up of one area over the hedges that are moving. You're like, oh, I need to go that way. So you move that way, and it's like it turns into a different space, and you're like, oh, finally, I'm out of that one space of going in that loop. Because you have to be more observant of your surroundings instead of just looking in one area. Look up, down, left,
Let's
right, back, and forward.
I also
let's talk to those who, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I also think the veil is an inner work. It's not just an out there physical thing. The more inner work that you do, like I was describing about catching everything that would hinder your growth and eliminating it from your life, transforming it, that is going to have you ascend. That is when the veil lifts. That's when you see the new paths and the new things that you're talking about.
Agreed. So what about our newbies that are coming on and they're feeling like a lot of spirit energy, a lot of ghost energy and things like that? When the veil lifts, what happens is these energies can see your vibration, feel your frequency, see your vibration easier. They see your golden light. They see the torch above you. So they run towards you to be helped, rescued, heard, dealt with, whatever. So and we're in October. So for some reason, October is supposed to be like the veil goes to nothingness. So all realms come in and shake the bones in the clock. So people just understand that if you're feeling things around you coming near you, why don't you just ask, hey, do you need help? What can I do for you? Can you assist in your communication where I will understand? We don't want to go right to fear of the boogeyman under the bed or the monster in the closet. Because, when we're sleeping at night, you don't think we feel things come in our room? You don't think we see things walking in our house and trying to get our attention? Absolutely. But we know to ask, what can we do for you? Do you need help? Or, hey, I don't have enough skill yet. I can't help you. I'm giving you permission to leave. And then they leave. Otherwise, we call the angels. Can you please come get this beautiful soul and work them to their next journey? So that's, to me, also part of the lifting of the veil too. Are we done? Is everybody's choo-choo running out of steam?
I think everybody's choo-choo is running out of steam, but when that question came in about what we should be expecting for this fall, I pulled out a few cards. Expect high energy, for one, because the 10 is all about usually energy, and yesterday was the 10-10, and imagine we got another 10 today. But this is the Bluebird coffee shop picture, meaning coffee gives you what? Energy. It's a morning boost. So in the morning, boost yourself with energy to let go of all things that are not here for your highest good, which means clean house, right? So in the morning, start the cleaning house. Start cleaning house up here in your head. Take back control of your thoughts. Take back control of the slavery that we are giving ourselves power to, whatever's up here, and become that master with your psychic abilities and behavior patterns. Those are the two things that are going to help you to take back control with that high energy of that bluebird, of going back into that clearing, cleansing of oneself to be able to start the grounding process in the middle of the day. So when the sun is at high peak, go out and do the grounding. And that's when the last card comes in, the ace. Ace is usually of new beginnings. It's the beginning of all new things. But with this picture, it's the Golden Palace. And the Golden Palace is what? Abundance. Don't focus upon what leaves, but focus upon the abundance that will be coming in while you're grounding. With the sun at high peak, high noon. And that's the message that I got from these cards, is that.
That's good. I mean, that puts it right up into simplicity, easy to understand. Well done.
That's what I like about
Okay,
these cards.
so I don't think I have anything more to share.
I think we did.
I want to thank you guys for bringing me back online with you. It's been a minute, but every minute is on the way up, isn't it?
Very true. It is. And I want to thank you so much for being here, Paula. It's an honor to be able to have you with us again today. And family, thank you so much for being here. It is an honor to be able to host these shows and to bring that connection, bring that family, bring that love into this one space, because in this space... Shh!
Good Lord, don't get so excited over that.
What is that?
She wouldn't turn down her phone because she thought she was pressing the button, but it wasn't doing
It was the wrong button or something.
So I'm like-
Sorry. I had to run to the bathroom. I explained in the beginning
No.
what was happening. So I had to make a mad dash.
This was my inspiration time, and you knocked me out of my inspiration time, and now I don't remember where I was. I don't remember where I was going with that. Well, it doesn't matter. It's all about the little ripples. Remember, we are the ones that are making the littlest ripples. These little ripples is what's going to be creating the biggest waves. Because when you focus upon the waves that are already there, that think of those as the cannonballs. And cannonballs destroy ships when it's the ripples that moves the ships, and that's what you guys are doing. You guys are moving everything forward. You guys are sharing the love, sharing the connection, sharing the family, and keep on doing it. Keep on moving forward, and keep on doing what you're doing.
Accept me with the phone. Go on.
I say wear your crown every day. Hold your scepter with pride every day. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With
Okay,
intention.
people. I love everybody. Thank you guys for having me on. This was fun, as always.
It's always an honor.
Thanks for being part of my family and my village. And all that listen, thank you for being part of my village as well. I appreciate every one of you coming toward me and coming toward Candy and Kid. We are here to trailblaze so you all can find the journey and the path.
Yes, we are.
So I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Love you
Love
guys.
Love ya. Bye.
All right.
Probably not going to want to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Always go with the choice that scares you the most, because it's the choice that's going to help you grow.
Wow.
I can't do negative today. Positive vibes, positive vibes.
Hey, best friend. Wait. To the person seeing this, I know you're tired. I know you're fed up and so close to breaking. But remember, you have strength within you even when you feel weak. Keep fighting, best friend.